The night sky was full of shooting stars. Hana sat on her porch with a cup of tea, watching the meteors fall. She had always loved this time of year when the stars seemed to dance across the darkness. Her grandmother's old farmhouse stood quiet behind her, surrounded by rice fields and mountains. It was peaceful here, far from the busy cities. Hana worked from home as a scientist. She studied alien samples that came from space probes, tiny pieces of DNA from distant worlds. She had spent 5 years looking at slides under microscopes, writing reports, attending video meetings. She had never expected to see anything truly alien in person. That was for astronauts and diplomats, not for someone like her. The meteors tonight seemed different. Most shooting stars burned up quickly, brief flashes of light. But one moved slowly across the sky, changing direction. Hana stood up, squinting. That was not natural. The object was controlled, deliberate. It descended behind the mountain ridge, disappearing from view. Her heart began to beat faster. She told herself it was probably a satellite or space debris, but something felt wrong. The air seemed to hum with strange energy. 20 minutes later, someone knocked on her door. Hana froze. Nobody came to visit this late. Her nearest neighbor was half a kilometer away. She walked slowly to the door, checking the window first. A man stood outside wearing dark clothing that looked like military gear. He was holding something wrapped in silver blankets. She opened the door carefully, keeping the chain lock attached. "Can I help you?" The man looked exhausted. His face was pale and covered in sweat. "Dr. Hana? The xenobiology researcher?" His voice was rough, barely above a whisper. "Yes, who are you? My name is Taijin. I need your help." He shifted the bundle in his arms, and Hana saw something that made her breath catch. A tiny hand emerged from the blankets, but the skin was blue. Not the blue of a sick human baby. This was a soft, glowing blue like moonlight on water. "What is that?" Hana whispered. "He's a child. He's not human, but he's a child." Taijin's legs seemed to give out. He leaned against the doorframe, breathing hard. "They're hunting him. I can't protect him anymore. You're the only one close enough who might understand." Hana noticed the dark stain spreading across Taijin's side. Blood. He was badly injured. "Please," Taijin said. "He needs someone who understands biology, someone who can keep him alive." Every logical part of Hana's mind screamed at her to close the door, call the police, pretend this never happened. But she looked at the tiny blue hand, the fingers moving slightly, and something deeper than logic took over. She unlocked the chain and opened the door wide. Taijin stumbled inside and collapsed on her floor. The bundle rolled from his arms. Hana caught it before it hit the ground. Inside the blankets was an infant, perhaps 2 months old by appearance. His skin glowed faintly blue in the dim light. His eyes were large and dark, looking up at her with an expression she recognized despite the alien features. The baby was scared. "It's okay," Hana whispered, though she had no idea if the child could understand her. "You're safe now." She laid the baby gently on her couch and turned to Taijin. He was unconscious now, bleeding heavily from a wound in his side. Hana's scientific training took over. She grabbed her first aid kit and began working quickly. The wound looked like it came from some kind of energy weapon. The edges burned and cauterized. She had never seen anything like it except in science fiction movies. She cleaned the wound, applied antibiotic gel, and wrapped it tightly. Taijin's pulse was weak but steady. He would live if the wound didn't get infected. The baby made a soft sound. Hana turned to see him watching her with those huge dark eyes. He was not crying, just observing. She picked him up carefully, supporting his head the way she remembered from a childcare video she once watched. The baby was warm, warmer than a human infant should be. His skin felt smooth like silk. "What are you?" she whispered. The baby's hand reached up and touched her face. His fingers were long and delicate. In that moment, Hana felt something shift inside her. This was not just a scientific specimen. This was a living being who needed help. She carried the baby to her desk and examined him under her lamp. His physiology was similar to human, but with clear differences. His heartbeat had a double rhythm, like 2 hearts beating slightly out of sync. When she looked at his eyes with a light, she saw a reflective layer like a cat's. His bones felt denser than they should be. The baby began to fuss. Hana realized he must be hungry. But what did he eat? She looked at Taijin, still unconscious on her floor. "No help there." She tried warm milk first, diluted and careful. The baby rejected it, turning his head away. She tried formula. Same result. Her mind raced through possibilities. Different amino acid structure? Different nutritional needs? She mixed various combinations, testing small amounts on the baby's lips. Finally, she tried a mixture of rice milk with added proteins and a drop of honey. The baby accepted it eagerly, drinking from a bottle she had bought once for her sister's child. As the baby fed, Hana noticed something extraordinary. His skin glowed brighter after eating, pulsing gently like a heartbeat made of light. She grabbed her phone and started taking notes, documenting everything. Scientists never stop being scientists, even in impossible situations. Taejin woke up 3 hours later. Dawn was beginning to break outside. Hana sat in a chair holding the sleeping baby, surrounded by notes and observations. "You stayed," Taejin said quietly. "Did I have a choice?" Hana replied. "Who is he? What is he?" Taejin sat up slowly, wincing. "His name is Jiho, I named him that. His species doesn't have names the way we do. They use harmonic frequencies, but he's too young to have one yet." "His species? They're called Varans. They came from a world on the other side of the galaxy. Their planet was destroyed. Only a few hundred survived." Taejin's voice was filled with pain. "The ones who destroyed their world are hunting the survivors. They want Varan biology for experiments, genetic research, weapons." Hana held the baby closer. "And you?" "I'm part of Earth's secret response to first contact. Yes, we've met aliens. Yes, the government knows. No, they haven't told anyone. I was supposed to protect Jiho during an evacuation. My team is dead. The hunters tracked us to Earth. They're coming." Hana felt cold despite the warm baby in her arms. "Why bring him to me?" Taejin looked at her with tired eyes. "Because you understand biology. Because you're not in any database the aliens can access. Because humans have something the rest of the galaxy doesn't understand. We care about individuals, even ones we just met. Even ones from different species." He coughed and blood flecked his lips. "I'm compromised. They know my face. But you can hide him. You can keep him alive." "This is insane," Hana whispered. "Yes," Taejin agreed. "But you're still holding him. That means you've already decided." Hana looked down at baby Jiho, sleeping peacefully in her arms, his blue skin glowing softly in the morning light. Taejin was right. She had already decided. Some choices are made by the heart before the mind catches up. "Tell me everything," she said. "Tell me how to keep him alive." Taejin smiled weakly. "That's very human of you." Outside, the sun rose over the mountains. The meteor shower was over, but Hana's quiet life had changed forever. She was no longer just a scientist studying alien life. She was now the guardian of it. Taejin stayed in Hana's spare bedroom for 3 days, recovering from his wound. During that time, he taught her everything she needed to know about caring for an alien infant. Hana filled 2 notebooks with information, writing down details that seemed impossible but were undeniably real. Jiho needed to be fed every 3 hours. The formula Taejin showed her how to make used ingredients from Earth, but in combinations no human baby could digest. Rice protein, kelp extract, mineral water with specific salt content, and something Taejin synthesized using a small device he carried. The device looked like a metal box with glowing buttons. He called it a molecular assembler. "Where did you get this technology?" Hana asked, watching the device hum and produce a small vial of clear liquid. "Trade agreement with the Varans," Taejin explained. "They were generous with their knowledge. They believed in sharing discoveries freely. That's part of why they were destroyed. The Koresh saw them as weak." "The Koresh are the ones hunting Jiho?" "Yes, they're an empire that controls 12 star systems. They use genetic engineering to create specialized workers and soldiers. Varan DNA is extremely adaptable. The Koresh want to use it to improve their military." Taejin's expression darkened. "They see children like Jiho as resources, not people." Hana looked at Jiho, who was lying on a blanket on the floor, watching dust particles float through a beam of sunlight. He seemed fascinated by the light, reaching for it with his tiny blue hands. She felt a surge of protective anger. "How long do I have?" she asked. "Before they find us?" "I don't know. I damaged their tracking equipment when I landed, but they'll repair it. Maybe a week, maybe a month. The Koresh don't give up easily. And then what?" Taejin was quiet for a moment. "Then you have to hide better than they can hunt. I'll lead them away from here, create false trails, buy you time. You're leaving?" "I have to." I'm too recognizable. My DNA is in their scanners. But you're nobody to them. Just a human civilian. That's your advantage. He looked at her seriously. This is going to be dangerous. I won't lie to you. If they find Jiho, they'll take him. If you try to stop them, they'll kill you. Earth's government can't officially protect you because first contact is still secret. You'll be alone. Hana felt fear twist in her stomach. She was a scientist, not a soldier. She lived a quiet life studying samples under microscopes. This was far beyond anything she had trained for. But then Jiho made a soft cooing sound and smiled at her. It was the first time she had seen him smile. His tiny face lit up with joy and his skin glowed brighter. That smile erased her fear, or at least made it seem less important than keeping this child safe. Teach me everything, she said firmly. Over the next 3 days, Taejin gave her a crash course in caring for an alien. Varan infants grew much faster than human babies. Jiho would develop in months what took human children years. He would start speaking within weeks, walking within 2 months. His cognitive abilities were already advanced. He could recognize faces, track movement, and respond to emotions. Varans are empathic, Taejin explained. Not telepathic, but they sense emotions through biochemical signals. Jiho can feel what you're feeling. If you're anxious, he'll be anxious. If you're calm, he'll be calm. That's important for his development. Hana practiced staying calm even when everything inside her screamed panic. She learned to monitor Jiho's vital signs using another device Taejin gave her. She learned that Varan's skin absorbed light for energy, supplementing their food intake. That explained why Jiho loved lying in the sunlight. She also learned about Jiho's unique biology. Varans had 2 hearts, one pumping blood and another pumping a nutrient fluid through a secondary circulatory system. Their bones contained crystalline structures that stored energy. Their cells could photosynthesize at a basic level, though they still needed food for complete nutrition. It's like they evolved as a bridge between plants and animals, Hana said, fascinated despite the danger. The Varans believed their biology was a gift, Taejin said. They used it to understand both mineral and organic life. They were philosophers and artists more than warriors or builders. They spent centuries just trying to understand beauty. What happened to them? Taejin's face became hard. The Koresh happened. The Varans refused to share their genetic secrets. They believed some knowledge was too dangerous. The Koresh don't accept refusal. They attacked without warning, destroyed the Varan homeworld in 3 days. Most died in the bombardment. The survivors scattered across the galaxy. How many are left? Maybe 300? We're trying to protect as many as we can. We? You mean Earth? Taejin nodded. 5 years ago, Earth received first contact from a species called the Dalim. They're explorers, peaceful. They told our governments about the galactic community. Thousands of species, trading, talking, sometimes fighting. Earth was invited to observe but not participate. We're too young, they said, too unpredictable. But we're helping the Varans anyway. Yes, there's a program called Threshold. It's not official. Our governments know but pretend they don't. Volunteers like me work in secret, protecting refugees that the galactic community won't help. Because humans have this stupid, beautiful habit of caring about people even when it's not smart or profitable or safe. Hana understood now. This was bigger than one baby. This was humanity choosing compassion over safety. It was insane and noble and exactly the kind of thing humans would do. On the morning of the 4th day, Taejin's devices started beeping. He checked them and his expression grew tense. They're here, in Korea. They landed somewhere near Seoul. They'll spread out scanning for Varan biosignatures. He started packing his equipment. I have to go now. Lead them away. Hana felt panic rising. But I don't know enough. What if something goes wrong? What if Jiho gets sick? Taejin handed her a small communication device. This connects to Threshold Command. If you have an emergency, press the red button. Someone will answer. But use it only if absolutely necessary. Every transmission is a risk. He knelt down next to Jiho, who was watching him with those large dark eyes. Taejin touched the baby's face gently. Stay safe, little one. Let the human take care of you. She's braver than she thinks. Then he turned to Hana. There are others like you. Humans hiding Varan children across Earth. You're not alone in this. What you're doing matters. It matters more than you know. Why? Hana asked. Why do we care so much about aliens we just met? Taejin smiled. Because we're human. We can't help it. He moved toward the door, then paused. The galaxy thinks humans are strange. Too emotional. too willing to sacrifice for strangers. Most species focus on survival of their own group. But humans, we have this crazy idea that every life has value, even alien ones. That's going to change the galaxy someday. The Koresh are terrified of that idea. They're terrified of compassion. They're terrified of what happens when compassion becomes powerful. When it spreads, when it can't be stopped. Taejin opened the door. Take care of him. Show the galaxy what humans can do. Then he was gone, disappearing into the forest behind her house. Hana stood at the door holding Jiho, watching the trees where Taejin vanished. She felt more alone than ever before. Jiho made a questioning sound, sensing her fear. Hana took a deep breath and forced herself to calm down. She had a job to do. She had a child to protect. It's just us now, she whispered to Jiho. But we'll be okay. Humans are good at impossible things. Jiho wrapped his tiny blue fingers around her thumb and held on tight. In that moment, Hana made a promise to herself and to this alien child who had come into her life under a meteor shower. She would keep him safe, no matter what it cost. No matter who came looking, she closed the door and locked it. Outside, the world was full of dangers. But inside, there was a scared baby who needed someone to care for him. And Hana had decided she would be that someone. That was very human of her. The first week alone with Jiho was the hardest of Hana's life. She had never been a mother. She had never even babysat. Her life had been laboratories and computer screens, research papers, and peer reviews. Now she was responsible for keeping an alien infant alive, while hiding from hunters who could appear at any moment. Jiho cried the first night Taejin left. Not the loud wailing of a human baby, but a soft, musical sound that broke Hana's heart. He missed Taejin. He sensed the danger around them. Hana held him for hours, rocking back and forth, singing Korean lullabies her grandmother once sang to her. Slowly, Jiho calmed. He looked up at her with those dark, trusting eyes and made a soft cooing sound. Then he fell asleep in her arms, his blue skin glowing gently in the darkness. Hana stayed awake all night, watching him breathe, terrified he would stop. But he didn't. He woke up hungry at dawn, drank his formula eagerly, and spent the morning lying in a patch of sunlight on the floor, absorbing energy through his skin. Hana watched him with scientific fascination mixed with growing affection. Jiho was growing fast. By the end of the first week, he had gained weight and grown several centimeters. His movements became more coordinated. He started reaching for objects deliberately, exploring his world with curious hands. Hana documented everything in her notebooks, creating detailed care protocols. She learned his patterns. He needed sunlight for at least 2 hours each day. Without it, his skin dulled and he became lethargic. He needed to be kept warm, his body temperature running higher than human infants. He responded to music, his skin pulsing with light and rhythm to songs. He loved water, splashing happily during baths, his blue skin turning almost purple with joy. But more than these physical needs, Hana discovered that Jiho needed emotional connection. The empathic abilities Taejin mentioned were real. When Hana was stressed, Jiho became fussy and difficult. When she was calm and happy, he thrived. She learned to manage her fear, to project calm even when her heart raced with worry. "We're learning together," she told Jiho one morning as she fed him. "You're learning how to be alive, and I'm learning how to take care of you. We're both figuring this out." Jiho made a sound that almost seemed like agreement. Hana laughed. Maybe she was imagining it, but she felt like he understood more than an infant should. 3 weeks after Taejin left, Hana received her first real test. She woke in the middle of the night to find Jiho burning with fever. His skin was hot to the touch and his glow had turned from soft blue to angry red. He cried in that musical way that now meant pain. Hana's hands shook as she checked his vital signs with the device Taejin left. His hearts were racing. His temperature was dangerously high. She didn't know what to do. Human medicine might kill him, but doing nothing might kill him too. She grabbed the communication device Taejin had given her. Her finger hovered over the red button. Press it and get help, but risk being tracked. Don't press it and Jiho might die. She pressed the button. A voice answered immediately. "Threshold command. Identify yourself." "This is Dr. Hana. I have Jiho. He's sick. Fever, rapid heartbeat. I don't know what to do. Stay calm. Help is connecting." There was a pause, then a different voice came on, older and confident. "Dr. Hana, my name is Minho. I coordinate threshold operations. Tell me exactly what's happening. Hana described Jiho's symptoms in detail, her scientific training helping her stay focused. Minho listened carefully, asking questions. Has he been in sunlight today? No, it's been raining. He hasn't been outside in 2 days. That's the problem. Varan infants need daily light or their metabolism becomes unstable. It's like hypoglycemia in human babies. You need to give him concentrated light exposure immediately. But it's nighttime. There's no sun. Any strong light source will work. Fluorescent bulbs are best. Put him under a bright lamp as close as safe. Keep him there for at least an hour. Hana rushed to set up every lamp in her house around Jiho. She positioned him carefully under the brightest lights, watching anxiously. For 10 terrifying minutes, nothing changed. Then slowly Jiho's red glow began to fade back to blue. His fever dropped. His crying stopped. After 30 minutes, he fell asleep peacefully. Hana collapsed on the floor next to him, shaking with relief. Is he better? Minho's voice came from the device. Yes, thank you. I thought I was going to lose him. You did well. You stayed calm and acted quickly. That saved his life. Minho paused. Dr. Hana, we've been monitoring your situation. You're doing an excellent job. Jiho is one of the healthiest Varan infants we're tracking. There are others? 43 Varan children currently hidden on Earth. 43 humans like you caring for them. You're part of something important. Hana looked at sleeping Jiho, his chest rising and falling peacefully. Why do we do this? We're risking so much. Because we're human, Minho said simply. We can't help caring. It's our greatest strength and our greatest weakness. The galaxy doesn't understand it yet, but they will. Now get some rest. And Dr. Hana, in the future, don't hesitate to call. We're all in this together. The device went silent. Hana sat in her living room surrounded by bright lamps, watching over an alien baby who had become the most important thing in her world. She thought about the 42 other humans out there, people she had never met, all doing the same impossible thing. As weeks passed, Hana and Jiho developed a rhythm. She worked from home during his nap times, analyzing her research samples, attending video meetings with colleagues who had no idea she was caring for an alien. She became skilled at hiding Jiho when the camera was on, muting him when he made sounds. Jiho continued growing at an astonishing rate. By 6 weeks, he was the size of a 6-month-old human baby. He started making deliberate sounds, trying to communicate. Hana spoke to him constantly in Korean, hoping he would learn. One morning, as she prepared his formula, Jiho looked directly at her and said clearly, Hana. Hana froze. Her name. He had said her name. Did you just talk? She hurried over to him. Say it again. Hana. Hana. Jiho repeated, and his skin glowed brighter with what looked like pride. Hana burst into tears. Happy tears. She picked him up and hugged him gently. Yes, I'm Hana, and you're Jiho. We're family now. Jiho patted her face with his small blue hand, sensing her joy. Hana, he said again as if testing the sound. From that day, Jiho's language development exploded. He learned new words daily, simple ones at first, then more complex. His vocal cords could make sounds human throats couldn't, but he adapted, learning to speak Korean in a way Hana could understand. Hana taught him everything. The names of objects, colors, numbers. She read him books, showed him pictures, played educational videos. Jiho absorbed it all with a hunger that amazed her. His intelligence was clearly far beyond human children his age, but more important than his intelligence was his personality emerging. Jiho was curious about everything, always reaching for new things to explore. He was gentle, never deliberately breaking objects even when he could. He was affectionate, wanting to be held and cuddled. He laughed at silly things like when Hana made funny faces or when birds landed outside the window. He was becoming a person. Not just an alien infant to protect, but someone with thoughts and feelings and preferences. Someone Hana was growing to love deeply. 2 months after Taejin left, Hana received a message on the communication device. It was a coded alert from Threshold Command. Koresh hunters had been spotted in her province. They were getting closer. That night, Hana held Jiho close and made plans. She would need to be ready to move quickly. She packed emergency bags with supplies, money, and Jiho's specialized food. She memorized escape routes through the mountains. She prepared for the worst, but she also made a promise to Jiho, who watched her with understanding beyond his age. No matter what happens, she told him, I won't let them take you. You're mine now, not by birth but by choice, And that makes you just as much my child as if I had carried you myself. Jiho reached up and touched her face, his empathic senses feeling her determination and love. Hana-ma, he said softly. Not just Hana, but adding ma like the Korean word for mother. Hana's eyes filled with tears again. Yes, she whispered. Hana-ma, your mother now. Outside, storm clouds gathered over the mountains. Somewhere in the darkness, hunters searched for a blue-skinned child. But inside the farmhouse there was love and determination, and the very human belief that some things are worth fighting for. Jiho fell asleep in her arms, safe and warm, while Hana kept watch through the night. She was no longer just a scientist. She was a mother now, and she would do anything to protect her child. Jiho was now the size of a 1-year-old human child, though only 10 weeks had passed. He could stand with support, walk a few steps while holding furniture, and speak in simple sentences mixing Korean words with sounds from his own language. His blue skin had faded to a softer shade, visible now only as a slight tint in normal light. In darkness, he still glowed gently. Hana had adjusted to her new life. She worked efficiently during Jiho's naps, played with him during his active hours, and kept careful watch on the communication device for any warnings. She had almost started to believe they might be safe. Then her neighbor Borum knocked on her door. Borum was 70 years old, a widow who lived in the next farmhouse. She grew vegetables and sometimes brought Hana fresh produce. She was kind but curious, always trying to peek inside when Hana answered the door. "Good morning, Hana," Borum said, holding a basket of radishes. "I brought these for you." "Thank you, Borum-si. That's very kind." Hana took the basket but didn't invite her inside. She never did anymore. "I heard you have a nephew staying with you now." Borum's eyes were sharp despite her age. "I saw a child through your window last week." Hana's heart raced, but she kept her voice calm. "Yes, my cousin's son. He's staying with me for a while. He has a rare medical condition, so I'm caring for him." "What kind of condition?" "A genetic disorder. He's very sensitive to sunlight and needs special care. The doctors in Seoul suggested quiet country life would help him." Borum nodded slowly. "I see, and his skin, it looked unusual. Very pale, part of his condition. It affects his pigmentation." Hana smiled, trying to appear relaxed. "I really should get back to him. Thank you again for the radishes." She closed the door before Borum could ask more questions. Through the window, she watched her neighbor walk away slowly, looking back twice. Hana's hands trembled. Had Borum seen Jiho's blue skin clearly? Did she suspect something? That afternoon, Borum returned. Her expression was serious. "Hana, I need to talk to you. It's important." "What is it?" "There are strangers in the village. 3 of them. They arrived this morning asking questions about unusual children. They're showing people devices that look like advanced technology." Borum lowered her voice. "I don't trust them. Something feels wrong. They claim to be government health inspectors, but they don't act right." Hana felt ice in her stomach. "What kind of questions?" "About children with rare conditions. Children who look different. They're going house to house." Borum looked at Hana directly. "I lied to them. I told them there are no unusual children here. But Hana, I think they're looking for your nephew. Why would you lie for us? You don't even know us well." Borum's expression softened. "During the war, when I was a little girl, strangers helped my family hide. They risked their lives for us. I never forgot that kindness." She touched Hana's arm gently. "I don't know what's really happening here, but I know a frightened mother when I see one. And I know cruel men when I see them. These strangers are cruel. I can feel it." Hana made a quick decision. "Borum-si, thank you. You should go home now. Stay away from here. This might become dangerous. Will you be safe?" "I'll do everything I can." Borum nodded and left. Hana locked the door and immediately contacted Threshold Command. "They've found us," she told Minho. "Koresh are in my village." "We know. We've been tracking them. They're using holographic disguises to appear human, but their scanning equipment is sophisticated." "How well hidden is Jiho?" "I have the masking devices Taejin left. But are they enough?" "They should be. Koresh scanners look for specific Varen biosignatures. The masking devices create false readings. But Hana, you need to be prepared. If they come to your door, you need to act completely normal." "Can you do that?" Hana looked at Jiho, who was playing with wooden blocks on the floor. He looked up at her, sensing her fear through his empathic abilities. His expression became worried. "I can do it," Hana said firmly. "For him, I can do anything." She activated the masking devices hidden around her house. They hummed softly, too quiet for human ears, but Jiho heard them and tilted his head curiously. Hana prepared her story, rehearsing it in her mind. She was just a single woman caring for her cousin's sick child. Nothing unusual. Nothing to investigate. The Koresh arrived the next morning. Hana heard vehicles outside. Through her window, she saw a black van and 3 figures approaching her door. They looked human, dressed in business suits, carrying electronic tablets. But something about their movement was wrong. Too smooth, too coordinated, like insects moving together. The knock came. Hana took a deep breath, picked up Jiho, and answered the door. "Good morning," said the lead figure. He looked like a middle-aged Korean man, but his eyes were too dark, too flat. "We're from the health department, conducting surveys about children's medical conditions. May we ask you a few questions?" "Of course," Hana said pleasantly. She kept Jiho on her hip. His face turned against her shoulder. "Though I'm not sure how I can help." "We understand you have a young child living here?" The man's eyes fixed on Jiho with unsettling intensity. "Yes, my cousin's son. He's staying with me temporarily while his parents work in Seoul." "May we see the child?" Hana shifted Jiho in her arms. "He's very shy with strangers, and he has a medical condition that makes him sensitive to stress." "What kind of condition?" Another figure stepped forward, a woman with a tablet. She pointed it at Jiho, and Hana heard a faint beeping sound. She was scanning him. A rare genetic disorder affecting his skin and immune system. He needs to avoid excessive sunlight and requires a special diet. The doctors in Seoul are monitoring him. The woman frowned at her tablet. "May we come inside? We need to complete our survey properly." Every instinct screamed at Hana to refuse, but refusing would make them more suspicious. She needed to appear cooperative, of course. "Please come in." She let them enter, her heart pounding. The 3 figures spread out in her living room, looking around with those flat, emotionless eyes. The woman continued scanning with her device, moving it around the room. Jiho pressed his face harder against Hana's shoulder. She could feel him trembling slightly. He knew these were the hunters. His empathic senses told him they meant harm. "Stay calm, little one," Hana whispered in Korean. "I've got you." The lead man approached them. "May I see the child's face?" "He's very shy," Hana repeated, "and upset. Perhaps if you gave us some space." The man reached out to touch Jiho. Hana stepped back instinctively. At that moment, something extraordinary happened. Jiho went completely still. His breathing slowed. His heartbeat quieted. The faint glow under his skin vanished entirely. It was as if he had turned off all his biological functions, becoming almost corpse-like. The woman checked her tablet. No unusual readings. Biosigns are consistent with human child with minor genetic abnormalities. The lead man stared at Jiho suspiciously. Something feels wrong. "The survey is complete," said the 3rd figure who had been examining Hana's house. "Nothing of interest here." They stood in her living room for another long minute. Hana forced herself to breathe normally, to appear like an annoyed citizen dealing with government bureaucracy. Finally, the lead man nodded. "Thank you for your cooperation. We may return if we have additional questions." "Of course," Hana said. "Always happy to help the health department." She walked them to the door, closed it behind them, and locked it. Only then did she allow herself to shake. She carried Jiho to the couch and sat down, holding him close. Jiho slowly returned to normal. His breathing deepened. His heartbeat resumed its double rhythm. His skin glowed faintly blue again. He looked up at Hana with exhausted eyes. "Did you do that on purpose?" she whispered. "Did you hide yourself from them?" Jiho nodded weakly. He was learning faster than anyone expected, developing survival abilities his species must have evolved over generations of danger. Hana hugged him tightly. "You brave, brilliant child. You saved us both." But she knew this was just the beginning. The Koresh were not convinced. They would return with better equipment. They would search more thoroughly. The farmhouse was no longer safe. That night, after Jiho fell asleep, Hana contacted Minho again. "They came. We fooled them for now, but they'll be back, I know. We intercepted their communications. They're requesting advanced scanning equipment from their ship. It will arrive in 3 days." Minho paused. "Hana, we need to move you. Both of you. It's time to bring you to Seoul to our facility." "How?" "We're arranging transport. A trusted driver will contact you tomorrow. Pack only essentials. Be ready to leave quickly." After the call ended, Hana stood in her grandmother's farmhouse looking at the life she was leaving behind. This place had been her sanctuary, her peaceful retreat from the world. Now she was abandoning it to protect an alien child she had known for only 2 months. But when she looked at Jiho sleeping peacefully in his crib, his blue skin glowing softly in the darkness, she felt no regret. Some things matter more than peace. Some things are worth fighting for. She began packing. Borum's son Daehyun arrived early the next morning driving a large delivery truck. He was a man in his 40s with kind eyes and strong hands from years of manual work. He had agreed to help without asking questions, trusting his mother's judgment. "We need to hide you in the cargo area," he explained to Hana. "There are checkpoints on the highway now." The strangers set them up, claiming they're looking for health violations. "They're scanning every vehicle." Hana looked at the truck. The back was filled with boxes of vegetables and rice bags going to Seoul markets. Daehyun had created a hidden space behind false walls of cargo, just large enough for Hana and Jiho. "It will be uncomfortable," he said apologetically, "and hot. The journey takes 4 hours." "Can you manage?" Hana looked at Jiho, who was watching everything with alert intelligence. At 10 weeks old, he understood more than most human children twice his age. She had explained they were going on a journey, that it might be scary, but they needed to stay very quiet. "We can manage," Hana said. They climbed into the hidden space. It was cramped and dark, smelling of earth and vegetables. Daehyun handed them bottles of water and a small electric fan before sealing them inside. The truck's engine rumbled to life. Jiho pressed close to Hana in the darkness. She held him tight, whispering reassurances. The truck began moving, bouncing on rural roads. Hana felt every bump and turn. The space grew warm despite the fan. Sweat ran down her face. After an hour, the truck slowed. Hana heard voices outside. They had reached a checkpoint. "Good morning," Daehyun's voice was cheerful. "Just taking vegetables to Seoul markets. We need to inspect your cargo." The voice that answered had that same flat quality as the Koresh, pretending to be human. Hana heard the truck's back doors open. Footsteps on metal. The beeping of scanning devices. Jiho tensed in her arms. She placed her hand gently over his mouth, not to silence him but to comfort him. He was smart enough to know he needed to be completely quiet. The scanning continued for long minutes. Hana could hear the Koresh moving cargo, their footsteps coming closer to the hidden space. Her heart hammered so loud she feared they would hear it. Then something happened that saved them. A different vehicle arrived at the checkpoint, apparently trying to rush through. The Koresh stopped their search to investigate. Daehyun used the confusion to close his truck doors and drive away quickly, but not suspiciously. Only when they were several kilometers down the highway did Hana allow herself to breathe normally. Jiho looked up at her in the dim light, his blue skin barely visible. He reached up and touched her face, sensing her relief through his empathic abilities. "We made it," she whispered. "You were so brave." The journey continued. They passed through 2 more checkpoints, but these were staffed by actual human police who waved the vegetable truck through without inspection. Finally, after 4 long hours, the truck stopped and Daehyun opened the hidden space. "We're here," he said. "Seoul. This is as far as I can take you." They were in an underground parking garage beneath a large building. Hana climbed out stiffly, her legs cramped. Jiho seemed unbothered by the journey, looking around with curiosity at the concrete walls and artificial lights. A woman approached them. She was young, perhaps 30, wearing casual clothes. "Dr. Hana? I'm Soman. Welcome to Threshold Seoul." Soman led them to an elevator that descended far deeper than normal parking levels. This facility was built as a government bunker decades ago. Threshold converted it 3 years ago. It's completely shielded from external scanning. The elevator opened into a vast underground complex. Hana stared in amazement. The space was filled with people, equipment, living areas, and laboratories. Children played in a common area, several of them with the blue-tinted skin of Varans. Adults worked at computers, tended gardens under artificial sunlight, and moved with purpose through corridors. "There are 43 Varan children here," Soman explained. "And 67 human caregivers, plus support staff. We're a community." She led them through the facility, pointing out important locations: medical center, kitchen, living quarters, communication room, everything humanity needed to hide and protect refugees from across the galaxy. In the central operations room, Hana finally met Minho in person. He was an older man, perhaps 60, with gray hair and sharp eyes. He smiled warmly when he saw Jiho. "So this is the famous Jiho. I've been monitoring his health data. You've done an excellent job caring for him, Dr. Hana." "Thank you. I did my best. Better than most. Jiho is one of the healthiest Varan infants we're tracking." Minho gestured to the screens around them, showing maps, data feeds, and communications. "This is Threshold Command. From here, we coordinate protection for Varan refugees across Earth. How many are there total?" 43 children, 19 adults. Scattered across 6 continents, hidden by humans who volunteered to help. Minho's expression became serious. "What you did, Hana, leaving your home to protect Jiho, dozens of others have done the same. Teachers, farmers, doctors, students, all ordinary people doing extraordinary things." Hana looked at the screens, seeing dots representing other hidden Varans. "Why? Why do we risk so much for aliens we barely know?" Minho smiled. "Because we're human. It's our blessing and our curse. We care too much." He pulled up a new screen. "But that caring is changing things. Let me show you something." The screen displayed messages from across the galaxy, aliens from various species, sending support to Earth. Some offering money, others technology, many just words of encouragement. When word leaked about what humans are doing, protecting Varan refugees despite the risks, something unexpected happened. Individual aliens from dozens of species started supporting us. Not their governments, but ordinary citizens. They're inspired by humanity's compassion. "But we're still in danger," Hana said. "The Koresh won't stop hunting." "No, they won't, but neither will we stop protecting. That's the difference between us and them." Minho looked at Jiho, who was exploring the operations room with wide-eyed curiosity. "The Koresh see Varans as resources. We see them as people. That's what this fight is really about." Over the next few days, Hana and Jiho settled into life at the facility. They were given a small apartment with 2 rooms, simple but comfortable. Jiho met other Varan children for the first time in his young life. Hana watched with tears in her eyes as he played with them, their skin glowing in harmony, speaking in mixtures of Korean and Varan sounds. She also met other human caregivers, a teacher named Heejin who was raising twin Varan girls, a retired soldier named Gunho, caring for a Varan boy he found injured, a college student named Yuna, who sacrificed her education to protect a Varan infant. Each had a story of how they came to care for alien children. Each had given up normal life to do what felt right. "We're all crazy," Heejin said one evening as they watched their children play together. "Normal people would have called authorities, would have protected themselves first. But we're human," Gunho added. "Being human means being a little crazy sometimes." Hana realized she had found her people. These were humans who understood that some things matter more than safety. That compassion isn't weakness. That protecting the vulnerable is worth any cost. But peace didn't last long. 1 week after Hana arrived, alarms sounded throughout the facility. Minho's voice came over speakers. "Koresh forces have located the facility. All security teams to positions. All civilians to safe rooms. This is not a drill." Hana grabbed Jiho and ran with other caregivers to reinforced rooms deep in the facility. Children cried in fear. Adults tried to stay calm. Through security monitors, they watched Koresh ships descend on Sol, no longer hiding behind holographic disguises. The Koresh were done with subtle hunting. They were coming in force. In the safe room, surrounded by frightened children and worried humans, Hana held Jiho close. He looked up at her with those dark, trusting eyes. "Hana-ma," he said quietly. "Scared, I know, baby. I'm scared too." She kissed his forehead. "But we're together. And we're surrounded by people who won't give up. That's what humans do. We protect the ones we love." Outside, the battle for Earth's right to show compassion had begun. The Koresh demanded the Varan refugees be surrendered. Earth's government scrambled to respond. The galactic community watched to see what humanity would choose. But in the safe room, the choice had already been made. Dozens of humans held alien children close, ready to defy an empire for the simple reason that these children needed protection. The world would learn what humans were capable of. Not through weapons or technology, but through something far more powerful and far more dangerous to those who ruled through fear. They would learn about human love. The Koresh ships hovered over Sol for 3 days. They made no attack, but their presence was a threat impossible to ignore. On every news channel, humanity watched the alien vessels hanging in the sky like dark promises of violence. Governments around the world held emergency meetings. The United Nations convened special sessions. Everyone asked the same question. Would Earth surrender the Viren refugees to avoid war? In the underground facility, life continued in tense quiet. Children still played, though more subdued. Adults still cared for them, though fear lived in every heart. Hana kept Jiho close, reading him stories, teaching him new words, pretending everything was normal. But nothing was normal. The world above was deciding their fate. On the fourth day, Minho called all the caregivers to a meeting. His face was gray with exhaustion and worry. The situation has changed, he said. The Koresh have filed formal complaints with the Galactic Council. They claim Earth is violating non-interference protocols by hiding Viren refugees. They're demanding we surrender all Virens to their custody. What will happen if we refuse? Hyejin asked, holding her twin girls. The Koresh are threatening military action. Not invasion, they say. Just surgical strikes to retrieve their property. Minho's jaw tightened with anger at the word property. Some Earth governments want to comply. They say 62 Virens aren't worth risking human lives. Silence filled the room. Everyone understood what that meant. The governments might order Threshold to surrender the refugees. But there's another factor, Minho continued. Something unexpected. Individual aliens from across the galaxy have been arriving on Earth. Not official delegations, but ordinary citizens from dozens of species. They're coming as volunteers, offering to help protect the Virens. He pulled up images on the screen. Strange beings of various shapes and sizes, all holding signs in different languages that translated to similar messages. Compassion knows no species, and we stand with Earth and protect the innocent. They're inspired by what we're doing, Minho said. Humans showing that compassion matters more than rules has touched something in them. They want to be part of this resistance. How many have come? Gunho asked. 47 volunteers so far, more arriving daily. They're setting up camps outside the facility, creating a protective ring. They're willing to risk everything, just like we are. Hana felt tears in her eyes. Humans weren't alone in believing compassion mattered. The galaxy had individuals who understood. But I need to be honest with you, Minho said heavily. The pressure is enormous. Earth's governments are divided. Some want to fight for the refugees. Others want to surrender them. A vote is coming. And if the decision is to surrender, I don't know if Threshold can resist. What are our options? Yuna asked. 3 choices. 1, we can leave, take the Virens and run. There are remote locations where we might hide longer. 2, we can stay and hope the governments choose to protect the refugees. 3, we can surrender the Virens and return to normal life. That's not a real choice, Hyejin said fiercely. I won't surrender my daughters. I'll die first, others nodded in agreement. But Hana saw fear on their faces. They were ordinary people, not soldiers. The weight of what they had taken on was crushing. Minho looked at each caregiver. I need to know your decisions. If you want to leave with your children, Threshold will help arrange it. If you want to stay, understand that we might be ordered to surrender the refugees. If you want to go back to your old life, no one will judge you. You've already done more than anyone could ask. I need time to think, Hana said. Others echoed her request. That night, Hana sat in her small apartment holding Jiho. He was nearly 4 months old now, equivalent to a 2-year-old human child. He spoke in complete sentences, understood complex ideas, and had bonded deeply with her and the other children. Hana-ma sad, Jiho observed, touching her face with his small blue hand. Yes, baby. I'm sad and scared. Why? How do you explain galactic politics to a child? How do you tell him that his very existence has created an international crisis? Hana tried to find simple words. There are bad people who want to take you away, and good people trying to protect you. But the good people might not win. Jiho thought about this, his young face serious. If bad people come, you go with me? I don't know if I can. You promise to stay with me. You be my Hanama. Promise means always. Children have a way of cutting through complexity to the heart of things. Jiho was right. She had promised to protect him. She had called herself his mother. And mothers don't abandon their children when things get difficult. You're right, Hana said, hugging him close. Promise means always. I stay with you. No matter what. The next morning, Hana went to Minho's office. She found other caregivers already there, all wearing similar expressions of determination. We're staying, Hyejin said. All of us. Whatever happens, Minho's eyes were bright with emotion. You understand what this means? If the government's orders surrender, we'll be defying them. You could be arrested, charged with crimes. Then we'll be criminals, Gunho said simply. Better to be a criminal with a conscience than a law-abiding coward. Minho stood and bowed deeply to them. You honor humanity, all of you. Over the next days, the situation intensified. The Koresh increased their threats. More alien volunteers arrived to support Earth. The world watched and argued and struggled with a question it had never faced before. How much should humanity risk for non-human lives? Then something happened that changed everything. A message arrived at the United Nations from the Galactic Council. They were calling an emergency session to address Earth's situation. And they were inviting Earth to send a representative to testify. They want to hear our side, Minho explained to the assembled caregivers. This is unprecedented. Emerging species usually aren't allowed to speak at council sessions, but the controversy has grown so large they can't ignore it. Who will speak for us? Hijin asked. Minho looked at Hana. I want it to be you. Me? But I'm just a scientist. I'm not a diplomat or politician. Exactly. You're not there to negotiate or make political arguments. You're there to show them who we are. You're there to tell your story, how you met Jiho, how you learned to care for him, how you came to love him. The galaxy needs to see that this isn't about politics or protocols. It's about a woman who opened her door to a stranger holding a baby and chose compassion. Hana felt terror at the idea. Speaking before the rulers of the galaxy? She was nobody, just an ordinary person who happened to care about an alien child. But then she looked at Jiho, playing with other Viren children across the room. He was laughing, his skin glowing with joy. She thought about the night Taejin knocked on her door under a meteor shower. How her life had changed completely. How she had discovered strengths she never knew she possessed. I'll do it, she said, but only if I can bring Jiho with me. That's not standard protocol, Minho said. I don't care about protocol. If they want to understand why we're doing this, they need to see him. They need to understand he's not a concept or a problem. He's a child who laughs and learns and loves. If they can't see that, then my words won't matter anyway. Minho considered, then nodded. You're right. You'll take Jiho. Show the galaxy exactly what we're protecting. The preparations began. Hana would travel to the Galactic Council station in orbit around Earth. She would have 30 minutes to present humanity's case. The Council would then vote on whether Earth violated galactic law and what consequences should follow. The night before leaving, Taejin appeared at the facility. Hana hadn't seen him since he left her farmhouse months ago. He looked thinner, worn by constant running and fighting. But his eyes brightened when he saw Jiho. Look how big you've gotten, he said, kneeling down. Jiho remembered him and hugged him happily. Taejin looked up at Hana. I heard you're speaking to the council. That's brave. Possibly crazy, but very human. I'm terrified. Good. Fear means you understand the stakes. He stood up. But Hana, you need to understand something. You're not just representing Threshold or Earth. You're representing an idea. The idea that compassion can be stronger than fear. That protecting the weak matters more than following rules. If you can make them understand that, you'll change the galaxy. And if I fail, then we fight anyway. Because being human means never giving up on what's right. The next morning, Hana and Jiho boarded a shuttle to the Galactic Council station. As they rose through Earth's atmosphere, Jiho pressed his face against the window, watching his adopted planet fall away below. Pretty, he said in wonder. Yes, Hana agreed, and full of people who care about you. Remember that no matter what happens next. The council station appeared ahead, a massive structure housing representatives from hundreds of worlds. Somewhere in that station, the fate of human compassion would be decided. Hana held Jiho's hand and prepared to tell the galaxy a story. The story of a woman who answered her door on a night of shooting stars and found the courage to defy an empire for the sake of a single child. It was a very human story, and perhaps that would be enough. The Galactic Council chamber was the most magnificent and terrifying place Hana had ever seen. It was a vast sphere with transparent walls showing the stars beyond. Thousands of seats arranged in circular tiers held representatives from hundreds of species. Some looked almost human. Others were so alien that Hana's mind struggled to understand their forms. Floating platforms, beings of energy, creatures that existed partially in different dimensions, and she was just one human woman holding a 4-month-old alien child, about to speak to all of them. Minho had accompanied her as support, but he couldn't enter the chamber. Only Hana and Jiho were allowed. She walked down the long approach to the central speaking platform, her legs shaking. Jiho clung to her, his blue skin glowing brighter than usual. He was frightened by the crowd and the enormous space. "It's okay," she whispered. "We're together. That's what matters." The council's arbiter called the session to order. The arbiter was a being of pure light, its voice resonating in everyone's minds without sound. "We gather to address the Earth situation. The Koresh Empire has accused humanity of violating Protocol 7, Section 4, non-interference with designated species conflicts. The Koresh claim legal custody of all Viren survivors under salvage rights following planetary destruction. Earth has refused to surrender Viren refugees in its protection. Earth Representative Dr. Hana may now present testimony." The Koresh representative rose. It was a massive insectoid creature, no longer hiding behind holographic disguise. Its voice clicked and buzzed, translated by technology into understandable speech. "The facts are simple. Varans are property of the Koresh Empire under galactic law. Earth, an emerging species with observer status only, has stolen our property and refuses return. This is theft and violation of protocols. We demand immediate surrender of all Varans and punishment for Earth's crimes." The Koresh sat down. Hundreds of eyes and sensors turned to Hana. She stepped onto the speaking platform, still holding Jiho. Her hands trembled. She had prepared a speech. Minho had helped her write it. Arguments about ethics and morality, citations of other galactic laws that contradicted Koresh claims, appeals to reason and justice. But looking at the assembled species, at the cold calculation in so many eyes, she realized prepared speeches wouldn't work. These beings thought in terms of law and power and precedent. She needed to make them think in terms of people. "I'm not a diplomat," Hana began, her voice small in the vast chamber. "I'm not a politician or military officer. 3 months ago, I was just a scientist living alone in my grandmother's farmhouse. I studied alien DNA samples. I had never seen a living alien. I had never expected to." She paused, looking down at Jiho. He looked back up at her with trust. "Then one night, during a meteor shower, someone knocked on my door. His name was Taejin. He was human, but he was carrying something that wasn't. A baby. This baby." She lifted Jiho slightly. His skin was blue. His eyes were dark and huge. He was scared and hungry and alone. And Taejin told me that people were hunting him, that they wanted to take him away and use him for experiments, that this baby needed someone who would protect him. She took a breath, feeling emotion rising in her throat. "I could have closed my door. I could have called authorities. I could have protected myself and my peaceful life. Every logical part of my mind said I should. But I looked at this baby, and I saw someone who needed help. Not an alien, not a specimen, a child. So I brought them inside." The chamber was silent, thousands of beings listening. "Taejin taught me how to care for Jiho. It was hard. I didn't know what I was doing. I made mistakes. But I learned. I learned that Varan babies need sunlight, that they grow fast, that they're empathic and can sense emotions. I learned to mix the right formula to keep him warm, to sing him lullabies when he was scared." Hana's voice grew stronger, and somewhere in those long nights of feeding and playing and worrying, something happened. "I stopped thinking of him as an alien I was protecting. He became my child. Not by birth, by choice. By the bond that forms when you care for someone completely dependent on you. By love." She held Jiho closer. "The Koresh say he's their property, that they have legal rights to him. They use words like salvage and custody and designated species. But I look at Jiho and I see a person. He laughs at funny sounds. He gets excited when he sees birds. He calls me Hanama, which means mother in my language. He has thoughts and feelings and dreams. How can a person be property?" The Koresh representative started to speak, but the arbiter silenced it. Hana continued, her fear fading as passion replaced it. "I'm told that humans are unusual, that we care too much about individuals, that most species focus on survival of their own groups and don't risk themselves for strangers. Maybe that's true. Maybe we are strange. But I've learned something in these past months." She looked around at the assembled species. "There are 47 human caregivers in the facility where I live. 47 ordinary people who gave up their normal lives to protect Varan children. A teacher, a farmer, a retired soldier, a college student. None of us are heroes. We're just people who answered a knock on the door and chose compassion. And you know what? We're not alone. She gestured to the viewing area where the alien volunteers sat. Those beings there, from dozens of different species, they came to Earth to help us. They're risking their own safety, defying their own governments because they saw what humans were doing and they were inspired. They want to be part of something that matters. They want to prove that compassion isn't just a human trait, it's universal. Her voice rang out clearly now. The Koresh say we violated protocols. Maybe we did, but I believe there's something more important than protocols. There's the choice we make when someone vulnerable needs help. Do we follow rules that allow cruelty, or do we choose mercy? She held Jiho up so everyone could see him clearly. This is Jiho, he's 4 months old. He knows 15 colors, can count to 20, and loves hearing stories about the ocean even though he's never seen one. He's learning to draw. His favorite food is rice porridge with sweet potato. He has nightmares sometimes about the destruction of his homeworld. Events he never saw but somehow remembers. When he's scared, he holds my hand and his skin glows brighter. Tears ran down Hana's face now, but her voice remained steady. You can call him property if you want. You can cite laws and protocols. But I know what he is. He's a child who deserves a chance to live, to grow, to become whoever he's meant to be. And if protecting him makes humans criminals under your laws, then your laws are wrong. She set Jiho down carefully on the platform. He stood there on his small legs, looking at the assembled species with wide eyes. Then he did something no one expected. He sang. It was a Varen song, something Hana had never taught him. The melody was heartbreakingly beautiful, rising and falling in harmonics human vocal cords couldn't produce. His skin glowed in pulses that matched the rhythm. The song had no words, but everyone in the chamber understood its meaning. It was a mourning song, a song for a lost world and a destroyed people, a song of grief and hope mixed together. The chamber remained absolutely silent as Jiho sang. Many representatives had never seen a Varen before. They had only known them as data, as subjects of political debates. Now they saw a child, singing grief for things he had never known but carried in his genetic memory. When the song ended, Jiho looked tired. Hana picked him up again, holding him close. He buried his face in her shoulder. If you take him from me, Hana said quietly, you'll be doing the same thing the Koresh did. You'll be destroying something precious for the sake of rules. But if you protect him, if you declare that compassion matters more than legal technicalities, then you'll be proving that civilization means something, that we can be better than our worst instincts. She looked directly at the Koresh representative. You destroyed the Varen homeworld. You killed millions. You reduced survivors to property in your laws. But you can't destroy what humans have created, a network of compassion that crosses species, a resistance built on love. We're not giving up. Even if you rule against us, we'll keep fighting. Because that's what humans do when someone we love is threatened. She stepped back from the speaking platform. I have nothing else to say, except that I'm proud to be human. I'm proud to be part of a species crazy enough to risk everything for a child we barely know. And I hope someday the galaxy will understand why that matters. The Arbiter's light pulsed. The council will now deliberate. All parties withdraw. Hana carried Jiho out of the chamber. Her legs nearly gave out once she was in the waiting area. Minyo caught her, helped her to a chair. You were magnificent, he whispered, was I? I don't know. They might still rule against us. Maybe. But you showed them who we are. That's all we could do. They waited for hours. Jiho fell asleep in Hana's arms, exhausted from his song. Representatives entered and exited the chamber. Debates raged in languages Hana couldn't understand. The fate of human compassion hung in the balance. Finally, the Arbiter called them back. The chamber felt different now. Hana couldn't explain how, but the energy had shifted. She stood before the council again, holding sleeping Jiho. The council has reached a decision, the Arbiter announced. The vote was close.